Hey everybody, welcome to the VAU Mic Check. Today we are talking about storytelling and staying in the story, kind of sticking with it not being an announcer thing. At the same time, we're doing something that's more of a narrative today. And in that sense, we're still doing commercial, but we want the listener to want to hear us. So we still have to know where we are in the story and what we're referencing to. So we have this massively, relatively large piece of copy. Yes, it can be intimidating, but we know we can get through it. It says it's a 60-second commercial. In the case of today, we're not really timing this out so much as we're just talking about how we can do our delivery. If you feel like timing yourself out, that's great. But, don't let the 60 TV commercial thing throw you. This is more about your delivery and how you stay with, a decent narrative and not twisting into announcer when you get to product names and, things like that. And with that, who wants to volunteer for this first?
I will absolutely attack this.
Okay.
Let's bring this right up here. I had it up here. Where is it? No, that's that. There we go. Okay, Barney's. In 1923, Barney Pressman opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. He opened that store with a grand total of 40 suits. He sold the suits during the good times, and he got by on the seat of his pants during the bad times. He worked long, and he worked hard. But if he did anything, he always gave the people in this town what they wanted, their money's worth. He named his store Barney's, and today his store is still giving people their money's worth. Only now, Barney's has a lot more to give. Today, that little hole in the block is not only the whole block, it's the single largest men's store in the world. Barney's has changed a lot since 1923, but the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't.
I personally think that was a fantastic read.
Yeah, that was good.
And I like how you changed it up when you hit "and today." Your energy changed just a little bit and got a little brighter.
Yeah. Right. Transition from then to now. Right.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, because I picture the whole, they're showing the storefront, sepia tone, the old cars driving by, that sort of thing. And then when you hit "and today," they shifted it. And then, you can see the more modern cars parked, along the street. And, of course, yeah, all the imagery that they're showing, you pulled us into it.
Okay. And what device was best in doing that? Was it the pacing? Was it the tone?
I think in a way it was the tone.
Right.
Not harping on the 60-second thing. Like I said, I wasn't going to really go into that. But at the same time, that tone being utilized in doing this spot, gave it the feel that it needed.
To come from the feeling. And the feeling, to identify the feelings here, they are nostalgic, but that's not really a feeling. I mean, it's a quality. The nostalgia, the remember back when, the sort of a Hal Riney. I always like that Hal Riney, Norman Rockwell thing. But if we were to describe that, what would that be? The storyteller, but then there's he's the small town storyteller. I'm just looking for some adjectives. Looking for some.
How does it say it? Yeah, because I'm looking for them too. But
Talk. I was like, where is it?
I lost my adjectives. I can't find them. I think they're on the floor somewhere.
Literally, I actually had a list over here.
Drawing a blank.
Okay, here it is.
Yeah, it is.
Mature, wise, visionary, thoughtful, motivating, aspirational, down to earth, sincere. I made a log of these various specs that aren't, specs that I can actually use to create a great read, which are,
Now, sincere, it sounds like it would fit this read. Sincere, it kind of taps into the nostalgia, but there's also this pride in where they've come from and how far they've come.
So this guy's representing the head of the company. This is essentially spokesperson copy, but the spokesperson style is he's real, he's believable, he's down to earth. Yet so he's a real person, but he still has a certain authoritativeness, a certain groundedness. I mean, they would probably love to get Morgan Freeman to do this.
Oh yeah, this has Morgan Freeman written all over it.
Yeah,
probably want him for any damn. Of course, who?
Probably so.
I'm a housewife in Guam, and I need Morgan Freeman for my man.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want Morgan Freeman?
They need to go back to doing Morgan Freeman is up there with like Don LaFontaine, and I thought about it the other day, this kind of a little side shot, but I thought about it the other day. I first started learning from Morgan Freeman when I was a kid because he was on this show called The Electric Company.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Kids show on PBS, and I watched that every single day when I came home from school.
3, 2, 1, contact.
Yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson was on there too.
Samuel, yeah.
I'm listening. I thought about it, I was like, oh, my God. My entire childhood was taken up with Mel Blanc, Morgan Freeman. All these list of really great actors is like, oh my God.
You know who else I could see?
What a wide influence. The best of the best. And of course, I'm listening to Richard Horvitz talking about Morgan Freeman. Mm-hmm. And talking about him flipping the script, and I'm watching this interview with Morgan Freeman, and he talks about how he handles a piece of copy. Mm-hmm. And I'm watching this, and I had this like massive epiphany watching. I'm like, oh my God, I get it now. But anyway, back to this. Yeah, this is this would have that style in it. Okay. In a sense, they would probably we want a Morgan Freeman type for this read.
I could see that actor Keith David doing this as well.
Right.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course I will take the opportunity to brag a bit. I've had the distinct pleasure and honor to work with both gentlemen.
Awesome.
Oh, cool.
And to be in the room with both of these voices. It's interesting. Keith David has a much more subdued. No, actually, no. They're both similar in just a very laid-back, cool energy as people. Mm-hmm. And then their voices really come out of their commitment to their acting craft. It's almost like their acting craft has created their sound.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. We were watching Now You See Me, and the best part of the whole movie was Morgan Freeman. Yeah. I mean, you got all these really young actors on there, and then you've got Morgan Freeman, and it's just like, yeah, he's really the glue that's holding this movie together. Yeah, not that it was a bad movie.
No. I still haven't.
It's just you get a great actor and you put him in a place like that, and it's just like, there is the icing on the cake. And yeah, I'm gushing because he's good,
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, this has that style. And I would say in the spec, they would say we want a Morgan Freeman style with this, which they wouldn't say style because you know how they are. They're like, we want this to sound like Morgan Freeman. And usually when they say that, It's not do an impression of Morgan Freeman, but bring in that style, that smooth tone, and that type of delivery.
Right. Okay, so with that said, here's my next take on it.
Okay.
In 1923, Barney Pressman opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. He opened that store with a grand total of 40 suits. He sold the suits during the good times, and he got by on the seat of his pants during the bad times. He worked long, and he worked hard. But if he did anything, he always gave the people in this town what they wanted, their money's worth. He named his store Barney's. And today his store is still giving people their money's worth. Only now, Barney's has a lot more to give. Today, that little hole in the block is not only the whole block, it's the single largest men's store in the world. Barney's has changed a lot since 1923, but the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't.
That honestly was a much better delivery than the first.
Yeah, I certainly felt that as well. I felt I created a character. I felt I was able to be three-dimensional. I believed what I was saying. I chose to believe it. Sometimes the toughest thing to do is to open with a feeling and stay in the moment.
That's very true.
It's like, yeah.
It did. It was way more energetic, and it actually had more of an attention drawing feel to it, to where the listener would just lock into the story and like, oh man, I got to hear the rest of this. I want to check this thing out. I want to find out what Barney's is all about.
Yeah. For me, the Keith David archetype, because I think that's really all these celebrity references are, for me anyway, to interpret them as archetypes, unless it's a sound alike, which, you're either fit it or you don't. But the archetype, because what Keith David does is his phrasing, he'll go, in 1923, Barney Pressman opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. Like or he may go, in 1923, Barney Pressman opened a little store on, he'll play with the speed of words, and that comes from he just got great phrasing. And I felt like maybe incorporating that made it a little bit. And then the last line, but the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't. I try to pause after money's worth to maybe add some dramatic impact, but I don't know. Maybe it probably would have been fine if I just said, but the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't.
Actually, the pause made it even better.
In this case.
It added the impact, and it let people linger on giving people their money's worth.
Okay.
Because it just kind of just enough space to keep giving people their money's worth in the head of the listener. And it's like, oh, these people like to give me my money's worth. I'm going to buy my clothes from Barney's.
Right.
I need a new suit. I'm going to Barney's. That sort of thing. And God, did I just trail off into the South?
How was did you time that by any chance? I want to try one and time it.
Okay.
Why don't you count me in?
3, 2, 1.
In 1923, Barney Pressman opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. He opened that store with a grand total of 40 suits. He sold the suits during the good times, and he got by on the seat of his pants during the bad times. He worked long, and he worked hard. But if he did anything, he always gave the people in this town what they wanted, their money's worth. He named his store Barney's. And today his store is still giving people their money's worth. Only now, Barney's has a lot more to give. Today, that little hole in the block is not only the whole block, it's the single largest men's store in the world. Barney's has changed a lot since 1923, but the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't. That felt fast to me, but I don't know.
Well, for fitting it in 60 seconds, but at the same time, it still had that good feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
as far as the delivery goes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, yeah,
Well,
I mean,
how long was it?
unfortunately, I didn't have my timer up. Crud. Did anybody catch this? Because I missed it.
No.
I thought it would have.
Sorry.
I was watching the clock, and you did keep it under a minute. So,
Oh, so it was under, but we don't know. Okay, so
Yeah.
it wasn't over.
no, it wasn't over.
Okay. Okay.
There we go.
Okay, great. Well, I guess that's that.
Way to go, window manager. I lost my clock.
Bad window manager.
Oh, yeah, I'm a Linux user, so I use terms like window manager. It's what's going on.
Yeah, it's a challenge to get copy like this in time because it's like it can't sound rushed. It's a story, and it's like a story like this takes longer than a minute to tell, like emotionally. So I literally felt myself like going, okay, get nostalgic, but move it. Like, oh yeah, this is a wonderful moment that I just love to bathe in, but no, get to the next line, but do it in a way where it doesn't sound like I'm pulling it along.
Yeah.
It's a weird tightrope to ride. And I would try to play with maybe slowing down on the end of a phrase so that when I pick up the pace on the beginning of the next one, it won't sound like I'm trying to manipulate, because it's copied like this. If I try to sound like I'm manipulating in a storyteller read, then people tune out.
Right.
That's true.
But if I, make him feel like, oh wow, he's not selling me a commercial. He really cares about what he's saying, and so do I. Maybe.
That makes good sense.
Mm-hmm.
So all right. So I mean, I guess lastly, the only thing question I would ask on this is the character. Could he be younger? Could he be what different options? If this were an audition, what would then be the alternate read? It would,
In a way, I mean, you could skew a little younger, but I mean, keeping it in where you were at with the way you perform that character fits it. It seems to fit it better because, I mean, you're telling a history, you're telling a story of, and almost from the perspective of somebody who has been with that family for a very long time and has, worked closely in relationship to these people, So you're telling it more, and you came from the heart with that thing.
Yeah, that's the key to it. The storyteller reads are heartfelt.
Yeah.
Heartfelt. And isn't wasn't not the Hal Riney Reid heartfelt? Was he a heartfelt? From what I remember,
Yeah. Yes, it was.
That's
it. Just it had a different energy to it than the other two reads.
Mm-hmm.
But it was still heartfelt. It was still coming from heart and soul instead of just, okay, I got to get this read out of the way, Okay.
Heartfelt is a good device. It ends up being advertising.
Yes, especially for a spot like this, because you're wanting people to know this man that started this, and you're wanting them to know his family and what their desire for their store is, and how much they want to make you part of their family and give you your money's worth.
Right. Got it. And then, so if again, in an audition, an alternate read would be maybe a little hipper, a little cooler, maybe a little more off the cuff, maybe not so heartfelt, maybe, where do you go? Because, there are a variety of ways to do this. What other ways could this client want to hear this?
Yeah. I'd say maybe just a little more close to modern, and then just, telling the backstory. But honestly, the heartfelt is to me the best read. I would say you hit the client right where they wanted it specifically to store themselves, they'd be saying, okay, yeah, this ad will sell.
And then, so a more modern approach would be just more motivating, more aspirational, more thoughtful, visionary.
Visionary's a good one right there.
Okay. Stoic. Yeah, there goes that stoic thing again. Stoic or passionate. Because it's got to be heartfelt no matter what the equation is. That's like part of what drives this thing, but then how that's expressed. Okay. All right. Well, I've cross-examined you sufficiently. You may move on to the next person.
If you want to do one more take off of what we just discussed.
Sure.
Go right ahead.
And please time this one, please.
Okay. Hang on a second. Let me get my clock up here.
I mean, I could do it too, but I don't want to be looking at the clock.
Please let me.
I've got a stopwatch here. If you want me to get it.
Actually, that would be good. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, I just found it. You didn't know where it was, but I just got it. Okay. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. In 1923, Barney Pressman opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. He opened that store with a grand total of 40 suits. He sold the suits during the good times, and he got by in the seat of his pants during the bad times. He worked long, and he worked hard. But if he did anything, he always gave the people in this town what they wanted, their money's worth. Store Barney's. And today his store is still giving people their money's worth. Only now, Barney's has a lot more to give. Today, that little hole in the block is not only the whole block, it's the single largest men's store in the world. Barney's has changed a lot since 1923, but the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't.
Okay, Jim, how'd he do?
We're way under 41 and a half.
Oh, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of extra time.
Yeah, they were way under.
Wow. That's pretty good for a piece of copy of this length.
Yeah. Didn't seem like it was going that fast either.
No. Actually, it felt really decently paced. So I'm not exactly sure if it would fit that little amount of time. I'm not exactly sure what they sandwich this in between, Lots of visuals. Which, I mean, you're talking about a 60-second TV commercial. So, there's going to be tons of visuals and probably somebody else's stuff interlaced in there, like, cutting it to something that says which store they're shopping at and going to a local announcer, that sort of thing. You know how that works. I definitely know how that works, but it may be tied together with something else, but to bring it in under that amount of time, but keep that same energy, that really good heartfelt feel, and then, excellent.
Not good enough for Xavier X-Men Paul, though.
Hey,
I guess I'm wondering how important is timing, because it's funny. One thing that's starting to happen a lot in voiceover, which irritates the daylights out of me, are callbacks. I don't understand why clients have callbacks for voiceover. It's just like, if you want to call me back, just rewind the tape and play it again. There's your callback. That's me doing it again. Okay.
Yeah, in some instances,
you have to drag me from my house 2 hours away, and I'm doing it. And I went in for this callback, and they were like, "Okay, now we're timing to picture." Okay, so it was this whole thing. So some takes I came in under, some takes I came in a second over. But if you're timing for doing a scratch to match it to picture,
yeah.
Well, then, if a person is a second under or a second over, that really shouldn't take a breath out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's different if somebody's coming in at 26 for a 30-second spot or coming in at 39 That's different from coming in at 29 or 31.
Yeah. And, you know, it's yeah, I mean, all you have, it's take a breath out. If there's a pre-life in there, just like, you know, take the pre-life out. You know?
But, you know, here's my pet peeve with it. And you would understand this because you work in TV. It's always the voiceover that ends up taking the brunt of it. It's like, it's never, oh, we overwrote this or we underwrote this.
Yeah. And I have seen that. I mean, God, we had somebody send us a commercial, and it was a minute long, and they gave the guy a piece of copy that was words from the first second all the way to past the last second for a 60-second spot. And really, on my end, as a master control operator, there was no fixing it. Okay. So, I mean, he literally ended up getting cut off at the after the last second because I had to make that commercial fit, you know. And it's like, I could fix it if I could have taken it into my audio editor and fixed it, you know, because I'm sure there was some place where I could have, you know, cut it down a few places and then put it back into the video. But that's not my job. So I was kind of stuck with what I got. And the poor guy, I mean, he's trying to take a minute and 2 seconds worth of copy and pull it down to a minute. And it may have worked inside their TV program because they can fudge a little bit with that last 2 seconds. But in the frame of a television schedule, it doesn't work.
So you're better off. So, okay, situations like that, I'm better off just getting it in at 29, getting it in at being under.
Yeah.
They can always add air.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, too, is, like I did a spot that was 20 seconds long, okay? And it was actually a spot that I created. I wrote it myself. But it was a 20-second spot. And what the intention was to have some video at the it was about 5 seconds of video at the beginning and about 5 seconds of video at the end, and then me sandwiched in between, you know, underneath the other layers of video. And it would have made a 30-second spot, but the producer chose to just run it at 20 and just make a 20-second video out of it.
And cut all your, oh, wow.
So it was just, I mean, it's 20 seconds of me. I mean, I've got it actually up on my website, you know. Okay. And it was a post-telethon spot thanking people for their gifts and donations. And, you know, it's like, and it's like, it was kind of funny because he came to me and he's like, well, he said, you could have gone 30 seconds with it. And I'm thinking, but there's other ways you could have handled this. You know, I'm not trying to tell him how to do his job, but it's like, okay, so I should have added a few words to this spot. Or so maybe
since you weren't talking, that just cut that out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild.
I mean, I don't do a lot of copywriting, but I have written a bunch of spots for radio and television. Okay. More radio than television, but at the same time, you know, it's a learning process. So there's all these little things that fold into things like this, you know. But really, back on the storytelling thing is you told the story, and we shall move on to our next volunteer. Well, we lost a couple people. So who wants to take this next?
I will. I'll go.
The crickets chimed in. Okay, Jim.
Oh, am I timing it?
Oh, no, I thought that was you that spoke just then.
Oh, no.
Was that Cam?
Yes. That was
all
me.
Right.
But if Jim wants to go first, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, either way.
No, go ahead and take it, Cam.
Okay. I'm going to time myself, too, so we'll have two stopwatches to see what the correct timage is. Okay. Here we go. In 1923, Barney Pressman opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. He opened that store with a grand total of 40 suits. He sold the suits during the good times and he got by on the seat of his pants during the bad times. He worked long, and he worked hard. But if he did anything, he always gave the people in this town what they wanted, their money's worth. He named his store Barney's, and today his store is still giving people their money's worth. Only now, Barney's has a lot more to give. Today, that little hole in the block is not only the whole block, it's the single largest men's store in the world. Barney's has changed a lot since 1923, but the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't.
Not bad.
Yeah, I got up 51.
Yeah. I was watching my
Give or take. I mean, it might have been
Yeah,
50.
I got 48, close enough.
Okay, yeah. So
For this, it's close enough, yeah.
I
So
made
little
my
under-
clock stop disappearing, and I could see it really well.
yeah.
Yeah, see, I could see how that would work there, though.
Yeah.
And you kept that feel to it. It actually felt like something local to hear.
You know, that's what I was thinking.
It
You know,
felt local to hear, but not so local to hear that it was just like,
it had a hometown feel, but yet, yeah.
I mean, you could have said Western Avenue, and it would have worked.
Exactly.
I don't think anything like that on Western Avenue and 17th, but
No. No, hardly.
I don't even think those roads intersect here in Knoxville. But
Actually, yeah, it does.
they do. Okay.
Well, it's 17th
Been a while.
Avenue, but yeah.
Oh well, yeah.
I think I might have stumbled on a word or two, but you know, that's
Well, I mean, it did. It felt at the same time as it felt local. It also felt a little more global. Because I mean, you're talking at the end there. It's single largest men's store in the world.
yeah.
So it kept its hometown feel. Yet at the same time had that nice global feel to where it was like it could be run anywhere and still work,
Yeah. So it pepped it up a bit.
Which I think more than likely this spot in the way that it was delivered would be running anywhere south of the Mason-Dixon line.
Yeah.
From here down to Miami.
Yeah.
And possibly out in the West. I mean, just because of, we had a particular style and a particular feel to it. And, again, caught the listener's ear.
Right.
Now, I would say, can you try to do a take that's a little less grounded in Knoxville?
A little less grounded?
Yeah.
We can try that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go. In 1923, Barney Pressman opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. He opened that store with a grand total of 40 suits. He sold the suits during the good times, and he got by on the seat of his pants during the bad times. He worked long, and he worked hard. But if he did anything, he always gave the people in this town what they wanted, their money's worth. He named his store Barney's, and today his store is still giving people their money's worth. Only now, Barney's has a lot more to give. Today, that little hole in the block is not only the whole block, it's the single largest men's store in the world. Barney's has changed a lot since 1923, but the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't.
In an odd way, it kind of turned into a reedy read.
Into what?
Well, when you were trying to adjust.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it it flattened out. And
Flat. Yeah.
It sounded like you got a lot more self-conscious on this read than you were on the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because what happened is your head's going, okay, kill the accent. Done.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, no, can't do that.
Are you wearing headphones?
Yes.
Take them off.
Yes, good piece of direction, John.
All right.
And then try that without listening to yourself.
All right. Let me. Where's the? Okay. Hang on. I gotta get the thing back up. Okay, ready?
And go.
In 1923, Barney Pressman opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. He opened that store with a grand total of 40 suits. He sold the suits during the good times, and he got by on the seat of his pants during the bad times. He worked long, and he worked hard. But if he did anything, he always gave the people in this town what they wanted, their money's worth. He named his store Barney's, and today his store is still giving people their money's worth. Only now, Barney's has a lot more to give. Today, that little hole in the block is not only the whole block, it's the single largest men's store in the world. Barney's has changed a lot since 1923, but the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't.
Huge difference.
Yeah, it was a massive difference right there. It actually,
I could tell,
it felt less local to here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which I live here, so I know what's local to here. For sure.
Right. Yeah.
So me and Cam are practically neighbors. So,
pretty much, we're just one. Just one or two towns away, pretty much.
I'm here on the backside of Douglas Lake, so.
Yeah.
But it's so I hear tons of local stuff, and when you did that, you kind of dropped into this active hush thing. Nancy Wolfson talks about this frequently.
Okay.
Active hush is that you're adding the energy to it without overthrowing it with volume. You took the volume out of it.
Gotcha.
And when you backed off on the volume, it was less reedy and less stilted. It was it told the story. You got back into the story.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mostly because you got your head out of the way.
Yeah.
Because it's like I'm hearing this in my own ears and it doesn't sound right. Let me do this again. And then it's like
it's a world difference.
Kicking the headphones off.
Yeah.
Excellent thing to do, especially when you're self-directing, because it's like you go from self-directing to self-criticism extremely fast, and you have to be careful about that. I mean, I know I'm really, really one that has worked on that a lot over the past few years.
Mm-hmm.
And let me think. One of the first voiceover reads that I did that professionals heard was for that Edge Studio contest.
Oh, okay.
And I had a $20 microphone, a futon, and a towel.
Wow.
And I don't think I had room to put headphones on during my read.
Uh-huh.
So I just went at it into the microphone, and then, of course I listened back just to make sure it recorded, and then sent it off. And all of a sudden they're like, wow, a character read. We didn't expect that, and then it was like, oh, okay, I got this. I can do this. But I think the key factor is I got out of my own head.
Okay.
So you got out of your own head. You got out of your own way because, I made a suggestion that you will hear,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll be like, can you sound a little less Deep South?
Okay. Yeah.
Sound a little more this or a little more that,
Yeah. Cool.
And coming from a character actor, it's a little bit different.
Right.
At the same time, there are these places where I have slammed into the wall with that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I can flip from character to character on a dime. What is wrong with me tonight? I was just overthinking.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks for the tip, Jim.
You're welcome.
Yep.
Yeah. Good read.
All right.
And now, for someone completely different,
Yeah, I just wanted to make the comment quickly on that. The biggest thing, it's easy. The trap is to think that if the read is bigger and brighter, that it's better.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
And to go in the other direction is hard when these specs are pulling and asking for energy and, you know, upbeat and more when the copy is written. If it's badly written copy, it makes it even harder. So
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, there's one little thing that I have learned through the whole process of, you know, becoming a voice actor is moving your body. You know, you ever notice? I mean, even if you're just waving your hands or, you know, pointing and doing little things, making motions, you know, so long as you're not wearing jingly jewelry. Stay away from that. But just moving around a little bit as you read, you know, I think I said it last week, you know, agree with them or disagree with them. It's not the big deal, but there's one thing that we can all, as voice actors, learn from Donald Trump is he knows how to use his hands when he talks. You know, he will lift them, he will raise them, he will do things and make certain points. And it's like, that's what we should be doing in the booth. And that actually, even if you're not raising your volume level, it raises your energy level. And people can feel that when you read. So that goes along with that other thing. So, and moving along, we got Jim, John, and Takia. Who wants to take this first?
I can do it.
Okay.
In 1923, Barney Preston opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. He opened that store with a grand total of 40 suits. He sold the suits during the good times, and he got by the seat of his pants during the bad times. He worked long, and he worked hard. But if he did anything, he always gave the people in this town what they wanted, their money's worth. He named the store Barney's, and today his store is still giving people their money's worth, only now Barney's has a lot more to give. Today, that little hole in the block is not only the whole block, it's the single largest men's store in the world. Barney's has changed a lot since 1923, but the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't.
That's pretty fast paced. And I think you you said got by.
I did say that.
Yeah, you changed a word.
I did say that, yeah.
Yeah. Just kind of adjust your pacing just a little bit.
Okay.
And then, you know, watch transposing those words.
All right. Anything else?
And just be the storyteller.
All right, we'll go at it again. In 1923, Barney Pressman opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. He opened the store with a grand total of 40 suits. He sold the suits during the good times, and he got by on the seat of his pants during the bad times. He worked long, and he worked hard. But if he did anything, he always gave the people in this town what they wanted, their money's worth. He named his store Barney's, and today his store is still giving people their money's worth. Only now, Barney's has a lot more to give. Today, that little hole in the block is not only the whole block, it's the single largest men's store in the world. Barney's has changed a lot since 1923, but the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't.
Pretty good. One little piece of direction, though, is when you get into that sentence, the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't, I would add just a small pause between money's worth and hasn't.
Okay.
You know, because you got a nice, warm, friendly delivery. You know? And just adjust that just a little bit, you know, as you're telling the story, because you kind of leave them thinking, okay, that idea, pulling that idea into their heads, giving people their money's worth, and then you say hasn't, and then of course end it on a down note with the word hasn't.
Okay. All right, we'll give it one more shot.
All right.
Before you do, I wonder if I could
In
add.
1923, Barney Pressman opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. He opened that store with a grand total of 40 suits. He sold the suits during the good times, and he got by the seat of his pants during the bad times. He worked long, and he worked hard. But if he did anything, he always gave people in this town what they wanted, their money's worth. He named his store Barney's, and today his store is still giving people their money's worth. Only now, Barney's has a lot more to give. Today, that little hole in the block is not only the whole block, it's the single largest men's store in the world. Barney's has changed a lot since 1923, but the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't.
Did you take your headphones off?
I did.
Okay, no wonder I couldn't stop you.
I figured he was going to probably stop me in the middle.
Xavier actually had a suggestion he was going to make before reading, so we'll let you do another take and let Xavier give you that little suggestion he was going to give.
Okay.
Well, I'm actually going to be brutal and offer several if you're up for it.
I think I can handle it.
No, are you familiar with who Michael Ironside is? Michael Ironside, the actor.
No.
Very man's man, and it's like your voice lends itself to, an authority that happens really without even trying. So I'm wondering why you're rushing. You got all the time in the world.
No, I didn't feel I was, but okay. All right.
You know what I mean? And it's like you're telling this. You can take.
Actually, I timed that last one. I don't know. I could was not time myself, but it came out to like 48.
Yeah, it's the same issue that I deal with. It's like we really have much more time. So that means we can invest in this statements and phrases much more, and it has to sound conversational. It has to sound as if this is some sort of dialogue that somebody else is responding to between the lines, but we're not hearing them. So you have to do the lines in a way that it sounds like you're responding to somebody else going, oh really? Oh, tell me more. You know what I mean? It's like you gotta lift it up that way. Otherwise, it's going to sound like you're reading. But I think if you slow it down, that should solve that. And the visual I sometimes work with is just at a bar. I mean, I would be at a bar talking about this, but let's pretend I'm at a bar, and it's a very laid back environment, and I'm just going to tell the story step by step.
Okay.
And what would that sound like? I'd be interested in hearing what that would sound like on your voice, because it really could sound very believable based on your sound.
All right. All right, we'll go for it here. In 1923, Barney Pressman opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. He opened that store with a grand total of 40 suits. He sold the suits during the good times, and he got by on the seat of his pants during the bad times. He worked long and he worked hard, but if he did anything, he always gave the people in this town what they wanted, their money's worth. He named his store Barney's, and today his store is still giving people their money's worth. Only now, Barney's has a lot more to give. Today, that little hole in the block is not only the whole block, it's the single largest men's store in the world. Barney's has changed a lot since 1923, but the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't.
Yeah, definitely moving in a much more believable direction for me,
Started losing my place a couple of times.
I think that's bound to happen. I don't know. I think that's bound to happen, and when you're really trying to lift the words off the page, it's sort of like you're making them your thoughts and taking them off of the page and taking it out of the writer's mind and putting it into an actual voice.
Right.
And I think, Nathan, he could go even more conversational, even more like it started to sound very warm and believable and real. I think he could even go further in that direction, don't you?
I think so too. Because
Right.
I mean, in a literal sense, it's almost like they could have added the line, "I should know I'm Barney's son," or something like that. You know what I'm saying? or his grandson or something. It's kind of, you lend something to it, you know.
Yeah, and also the piece about getting a copy with subject matter that I could care less about, but finding a way to create a bridge so it sounds like I do. If I had Jim's voice, it's funny. If I had your voice, I would be more inclined to talk about sports statistics than I would about this guy. But what if you could be doing that while you were talking about this? Is there a subject matter that you really care about that could open up what this script is about by you? That the subtext would be like this: you're reading about Barney Pressman, but maybe in your mind you're really thinking about your favorite sports hero or your favorite football team. You know what I mean? Something more. That makes sense.
Yeah. It's that whole heart and soul thing.
Because it's got to be there. Otherwise, this spot is going to sound like somebody reading.
Right. No,
Yeah.
Of course.
You know. And the way you did it the last time was like, I believed you. I started to believe what you were saying to me. So I don't know if
Okay.
No.
Go once more. In 1923, Barney Preston opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. He opened that store with a grand total of 40 suits. He sold the suits during the good times, and he got by on the seat of his pants during the bad times. He worked long, and he worked hard. But if he did anything, he always gave the people in this town what they wanted, their money's worth. He named his store Barney's, and today his store is still giving people their money's worth. Only now, Barney's has a lot more to give. Today, that little hole in the block is not only the whole block, it's the single largest men's store in the world. Barney's has changed a lot since 1923, but the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't.
still rushing.
Yeah, I think I was a little bit faster that time than it was the time before.
And you really weren't into the story.
Yeah.
Like Barney Pressman just went right by, like it didn't, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make a suggestion. Let's forget the fact that this is a 60-second spot, because I think that's where it's got you in your head right there.
Yeah, okay.
You're trying to go through it fast because you're seeing Barney.
Well, I'm getting a lot faster than 60 seconds. I think everybody's doing a lot faster than
Yeah.
60 seconds.
Yeah, and so
Which means plenty of room to play with.
there's that part of your brain going, I got to get to the end of this thing. I am Sonic the Hedgehog. I am running.
Mhm.
You know, and it's like, no, just back it off, be a little more laid back. And if you have this on your notepad or whatever, delete that :60 at the top of the copy. Just erase that from your vision and from your view, and then put your stopwatch away, and then just read. Just get in there and be that narrator.
All right. Okay. In 1923, Barney Pressman opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. He opened that store with a grand total of 40 suits. He sold suits during the good times, and he got by on the seat of his pants during the bad times. He worked long, and he worked hard. But if he did anything, he always gave the people in this town what they wanted, their money's worth. He named his store Barney's, and today his little store is still giving people their money's worth. Only now, Barney's has a lot more to give. Today, that little hole in the block is not only the whole block, it's the single largest men's store in the world. Barney's has changed a lot since 1923, but the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't.
You know, aside from stumbling, it felt like you kept the feel right.
Mm-hmm.
And you did slow it down quite considerably.
Yeah, I could feel it was slower.
Did it feel more comfortable to you, though?
It did, yeah. It did. Other than the stumbling kind of didn't feel comfortable, obviously. But yeah, aside of that, it did.
Stumbling never feels comfortable.
No, right, exactly. But obviously, that didn't feel comfortable.
Yeah. At the same time, really, you picked up on the feel, and you got more into telling the story and less into trying to be technical about it. Because the big thing about this piece of copy today is telling the story. You're the narrator, you know. This isn't movie trailer. This is narration. This is more, of a comfortable pace and getting the listener to want to pay attention, but, without getting in their face.
Right.
And like Xavier said, you have that type of delivery style that can be authoritative and, I literally picture at the end of a spot a guy standing there on the sidewalk in front of Barney's wearing one of Barney's suits, wearing one of those suits from that store, finishing up the story. They go from the audio part to an actual visual of a person with either the same voice type or you specifically, doing that spot on camera,
But the point I want to get across to you, Jim, is that if you were to infuse this with the same amount of commitment that you would if you were talking about your favorite sports hero, that would take this to a whole other place.
Uh-huh.
I mean, do you have? I'm assuming. I'm just listening to your voice and thinking this guy might follow sports. Do you follow sports? You might not care about sports.
Yeah, not real close. No, not like you did when I was a kid.
All right. Is there any?
I get your point. What you're saying. I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Doesn't have to be a sport hero. It could be someone from literature.
Right. No, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Whoever you may probably be passionate about, so that when you say Barney Pressman, the subtext is someone you really care about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really kind of what this thing needs, as would any piece of copy would need if it's a subject matter that you really could care less about. Because honestly, I could care less about Barney's suits. I mean, I've been to Barney's. I think they're too expensive and overpriced. I spent about 5 minutes in the store and left. But I'm using acting technique to make it sound as if I give two shits.
Right.
And I think that's the only thing that's going to bring a spot like this to life. If you're not a Barney's fan.
That is so very true. Yeah, because if anything, it's all depending on your acting technique more than anything else. And in borrowing from another voice coach that I know about, is forget who you are and focus. Because really, when we come into this environment, when we come into our booth to record, all of our personal opinions, all of our own personal wants, needs, and thoughts get left out the door.
And that's from James Allberger, Art of Voice.
ABCs.
Exactly, right there.
Right? ABCs, yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah.
Nathan, doesn't that fly in the face of the whole, oh, well, just be yourself? I mean, all these be yourself people popping up like, hi, I'm your voiceover coach, and I'm going to teach you how to be yourself. Just be yourself. We love yourself. We love you. And just be yourself and be yourself. And it's just like, I'm like, who are you? Shut up.
It turns into some kind of weird philosophical thing.
Yourself and accept yourself and love yourself and massage yourself and touch yourself. And it's just, shut up.
Well, I use that.
You're right, though. Everybody says be yourself, and that's just the opposite. Yeah.
Where I love doing impressions, there was a guy I used to work with, and he'd be like, he'd hear me do an impression. He's like, why can't you just be yourself? This is me being myself. I do this. I enjoy it. It's fun. Everybody else gets a laugh from it, and you freak out. It's like, I'm being myself. I don't know what you want me to be, but I am being me. The big thing is just like,
what they're trying to say is that be yourself is voiceover language translation for you probably suck as an actor, so do your best to sound like you're not reading this shit. That's
yeah, I don't know. It's just it's a lot of people, I think, when they wax philosophical and metaphorical like that, it feels good. And sometimes it sounds really awesome, and I think sometimes we get caught up in the awesomeness of how it sounds that, I'm teaching you something,
It's really a disservice.
And I have taken direction and been taught by the best people in the business, and this one person I'm thinking of never said, just be yourself. It was more along the lines of adjust that read, dial it back, bring it forward, real solid. That's the kind of direction you should be taking, not, okay, now be yourself. I've never called that. I didn't catch that from the producers I've worked for, the TV station or the online radio station. None of that, The only place I ever caught that was from, like I said, an engineer that I used to work with at TV station.
It's the most confusing.
You be yourself.
It's the most confusing thing to say to an actor, because the craft is a continual discovery of who you are.
Yeah. And at the same time, it's like, this really great piece of Richard Horvitz voice acting coaching is has it used this thing called the I am, and it's like, okay, I get in the booth and I'm given this particular character, and it's like, okay, I am so-and-so's son today, I am the guy's other son. I am the dad, but it's never, okay, I'm Nathan and I'm doing this character. No, I am that character, and that piece of direction goes a long, long way. And I listen to that a lot, because when you use that I am, you actually get somewhere with it,
Well, what they say a lot is be yourself being him.
Yeah.
Which is, how can you be you and be him too? That's her or whatever.
Verges on schizophrenia, but it's one of those sort of things, and of course, in this case, we are narrator, When I go in to read this, when I take my turn at this piece of copy, I am narrator, coming up with a backstory for the character that I am. Since I'm narrating this, okay, here's how I'm coming up with my backstory. I am a member of Barney Pressman's family. I've been in this business, from birth. I am very proud of my family. I'm very proud of where we've come from, and I'm very proud of where we're going. And I want to tell you how good it is that we're here. There's my story, and as that character, just, I think of like this: who's this Nathan guy? I don't know him. You know, right now I am this. You know, when I'm done with this, I'm going back to being the host of the VAU mic check. But when I'm in the middle of my read, everything else goes to the wayside, and I am here.
Because a lot of times it's so interesting. That's what I love about Allberger's approach, because he's actually a former magician. So he's taking the concepts of performing magic and applying them to voiceover, which is phenomenal. It's you suspend the disbelief, like which is what happens when if we fall into the trap of, or what voiceover beginner talent fall into the trap of, judging the copy.
You know, growing up, we are told over and over again, grow up and stop using your imagination. You know, but I still adhere to Mr. Rogers' philosophy. Okay. Another guy that I grew up watching. I watched him back to back with Morgan Freeman. You know, so both men taught me how to use my imagination well. And Morgan Freeman taught me how to talk right. And yeah, I just used improper grammar to say that, but you know, sorry, Morgan. but really, I learned proper grammatical structure and sentence structure watching Morgan Freeman, and then I learned how to use my imagination. And now I use both while I'm in here in the booth. You know, it's one of those things, but it's like, use your imagination. Drop. I mean, you do have to suspend disbelief. We are telling a story. This is what today's mic check is all about, right? By the way, is telling the story. You know, you are telling the story. You're not being the announcer. You're not doing a movie trailer. You're telling a story. You're telling the backstory and the current story of this particular store. You know. I mean, if this were not a commercial, it would be, I mean, this would be in the context of almost as if you're watching a 60-second television show about Barney Pressman's business, you know? And you know, they could actually spin this up into something else. That's how much imagination you want to put into it. You want to make this feel as real as possible. And the thing of it is it's not a try kind of thing. It's just like, okay, I'm letting go. I'm going to do this. And back to that I am thing is I am, you know, here. I've formulated my backstory. Now I'm going to tell the story, and I'm going to narrate as if I'm in this thing, you know.
Well, it's like the kind of three-dimensional commitment and dynamic that you would be used to from a PBS documentary, or like a Ken Burns jazz documentary, or a Keith David narration on documentaries he's done. It's like total commitment to what's going on in the story, everything. It's like being totally all in. And when the word commercial or the word announcer appears at the top of a piece of copy, the mind immediately goes to, okay, you know, whatever this is going to be, it's just going to be a phoned-in version, because after all, it's a commercial.
Yeah. Have you ever heard Keith David's Marine PSA?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That thing is awesome. I play that like every week at the TV station, you know, and even without the music underlay on that thing, you can feel him through the whole spot, you know. And I mean, and he's not trying to be convincing. He's just put his heart into it. The few, the proud, the Marines. You know, I mean, just you can feel that coming out of him, you know? Like I said, I hear this every week. So it's like...
So many of the top voice artists have a unique thing that they do. For me, again, people like Keith David and... who am I thinking? Morgan Freeman, Sam Jackson. They're closer to what I would be asked to do anyway, culturally, right? Yeah. However, for me also, people like Peter Coyote are just phenomenal in their interpretive ability, and his voice is like kind of like burning wood that just smells great. It's so much built into his natural tone. It's phenomenal to listen to. And the guy he's narrated. He's a prolific audiobook narrator. He's award-winning guy, and he's not what you would consider a distinctive voice or a.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe his sound. It's just an amazing sound.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, hello, Chris. Oh. He's unmuted, but I can't hear him. He says hello. It must be hardware muted. I did that to myself earlier. I punched the mute button on my mixer by accident. I'm like, I've got no sound. Oh, I'm hardware muted. Anyway, Chris Kendall, our leader of the VAU networks, the man that makes it all happen. And boy, does this guy make it happen.
Hello.
He's on. Hello, Chris.
Hello there, sir. How are we doing?
Doing great. Doing great.
Superb. Superb. One moment. I've not really used Zoom, isn't it? Yeah. I've not really used this before, so I'm still trying to navigate the areas to pinpoint exactly what it is I need to start clicking.
Yeah. Your audio sounds really good now.
Yeah, I'm not in the booth. I'm just on my my Rode NT1A on the desk, what I normally use for meetings and stuff.
Fantastic microphone. I have one.
It is. It is.
Right in front of me right now. Yes, this is promotion for Rode NT1A. As used by Voice Artists United.
Indeed.
Yeah. Love the thing. Love the bottom end on this, especially with what I had to do last night. Oh, God. Something with a lot of bass involved in it. And so it's like, yeah. No EQ, just lean into the microphone and talk.
So how's things going?
Very well. Very well. And today's piece of copy has to do with storytelling. Were you wanting to chime in and do a read?
Can do. I mainly just came in to sort of observe and just see how things were, and because it's very rare that I do get a chance to actually call in and just see how things are doing and catch up.
Well, awesome. And yeah, we were just discussing the whole storytelling thing, and of course, everyone's different style. And I have been gushing about how I grew up listening to Morgan Freeman. But, a fantastic artist. But also, we were getting ready to move on to the next read.
Yeah.
And that would be who our next volunteer is, or I will volunteer them myself, as I give a wink.
I'm ready, Nathan.
Okay, John.
In 1923, Barney Pressman opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. He opened that store with a grand total of 40 suits. He sold the suits during the good times and got by on the seat of his pants during the bad times. He worked long and he worked hard, but if he did anything, he always gave the people in this town what they wanted, their money's worth. He named the store Barney's, and today his store is still giving people their money's worth. Only now, Barney's has a lot more to give. Today, that little hole in the block is not only the whole block, it's the single largest men's store in the world. Barney's has changed a lot since 1923, but the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't. Boy, it's still like 50 seconds.
Just time stretch it. It'll be fine.
They'll throw 10 seconds of video in at the beginning, or 5 at the beginning and 5 at the end. They'll make it work.
Yeah, I tried to stretch a little bit, but I was also trying not to
It's
stare
gonna
at
be
the
tough to
clock.
stretch that to 60 seconds.
Yeah.
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 That's pretty darn good, though. I mean, the fact that you timed yourself, but you kept the pacing.
I didn't want it to sound overly slowed down. Obviously, it paused for no reason in it.
That I mean, it actually you kept that slow, warm, storytelling mode.
Well, aside from the timing, because you've really made the point well that there could be videos, there could be cutaways, there could be 2, 3, 4-second pauses in this thing. We don't know.
Yeah.
Mainly what I'm concerned about is, the tone, the feeling, the storytelling aspect of it. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, being the fact that it's a TV spot, there's all kinds of stuff you're referencing to. And the thing of it is you are undergirding television spot with good narration. That, I mean, literally, if it were not a television spot, if it were a radio commercial, it could still work without having to do a whole lot of adjustment to it. The only adjustment that they would have to make television wise is just because they have to adjust the video, but at the same time, that's no big deal.
Well, I also broke a couple of my own rules here and the advice I've been giving, because I'm wearing my headphones and I'm listening to myself trip over my tongue. So I think for the next take, I'll pull them off and see how it goes.
Yeah, go ahead and do that.
In 1923, Barry Pressman opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. He opened that store with a grand total of 40 suits. He sold the suits during the good times, and he got by the seat of his pants on the bad times. Boy, I'm killing it. Let me read the actual words that are on the script. In 1923, Barry Pressman opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. He opened that store with a grand total of 40 suits. He sold the suits during the good times, and he got by on the seat of his pants during the bad times. He worked long, and he worked hard. But if he did anything, he always gave people in the town what they really wanted, their money's worth. He named the store Barney's, and today his store is still giving people their money's worth. Only now, Barney's has a lot more to give. Today, that little hole in the block is not only the whole block, it's the single largest men's store in the world. Barney's has changed a lot since 1923, but the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't.
Okay, got your headphones back on?
Yes, I do.
Okay. One little thing is Barney became Barry.
You picked up on that.
Been reading Flash.
Just making sure everybody's paying attention. That's all. It's been a couple hours. I don't know if we've had people falling asleep here.
I'm Barry Pressman, and I'm the fastest suit maker in the world.
Yeah. Are you noticing a little more sibilance than lately too for me, or?
No, I haven't noticed that at all, really.
No.
Not wanting to trail off into the technical side of it, but what kind of microphone are you using?
It's a Sterling Audio ST51.
Okay, but no,
it's a large capsule. It's it's like Guitar Center's name brand or something like that.
I haven't caught any sibilance off of you. They actually sound pretty bassy and clean.
Mm-hmm. It's got a really good low end on it, so I think it's a good match for my voice. But I do want to try the Rode NT1A as well. There's one for sale for me near me, like for $100, $120. So it's really a bargain. I think I'll pick it up.
They're fantastic microphones.
Yeah,
I use one too. I'm not using one now, but that's what I have in my studio is an NT1A.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's give Barney his due.
Yeah, let's give Barney his due.
Yeah.
And just remember, you are a storyteller, which you do that sort of thing as it is. So be storyteller.
Gotcha. In 1923, Barney Pressman opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. He opened that store with a grand total of 40 suits. He sold the suits during the good times, and he got by on the seat of his pants during the bad times. He worked long, and he worked hard. But if he did anything, he always gave the people in this town what they wanted, their money's worth. He named the store Barney's, and today his store is still giving people their money's worth. Only now, Barney's has a lot more to give. Today, that little hole in the block is not only the whole block, it's the single largest men's store in the world. Barney's has changed a lot since 1923, but the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't. And I'm still at 50 seconds.
That's fine. That's probably where it needs to be.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah, probably.
You kept the pacing good and slow. I would suggest changing one thing on 1923.
Yeah.
You kind of up-talked on that.
I've been wrestling on how to handle that.
I would have flattened that out. Just Barney's has changed a lot since 1923.
Just don't even accentuate it.
Yeah,
like
just
it's any
kinda,
other word. Yeah.
Yeah, just
Okay.
kind of button that up, because the big thing is you're getting into the idea of giving people their money's worth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to me, it
And-
speaks of their reputation, how long they've been along, in business, but
Yeah,
maybe it's not really central to the story.
just pull your punch on it just a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit too much. Okay.
Yeah. Don't leave any bruises on 1923.
I haven't heard that one before. I like it.
I came up with that one the other day when we were doing all the yours and yous and punching pronouns. I was like, we're beating the daylights out of those pronouns today.
You know what we haven't heard today? And I think it's because Michael's not here. Peaks and valleys.
Peaks and valleys. That would be Dodge.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Dodge too. Yeah. Where's he?
I think your peaks and valleys were pretty good.
Yeah. I'll have to work on that.
Yeah,
All
just
right.
had to kind of adjust your wording a little bit, and because remember, you are a storyteller.
This one is, I think you made a really good pick for storytelling, because it does really lend itself very well to that.
I know we only get so much space of time in here, especially when we first get this piece of copy and we're having to paste it into our notepads and stuff like that, which I hopefully using Google Docs has made this a lot easier for all of us. So
Yes.
yeah, because it's just like
Nice touch.
in front of you. So the thing of it is given the amount of time that you're given, and of course coming in a little bit later into what we're doing, sometimes helps a little bit. But you think about it, okay, I've got less than 30 minutes to learn this piece of copy, to figure out my backstory, which, sometimes you get a little less than that. I've heard Pat Fraley talking about having less than 30 seconds to come up with Crane.
I've heard horror stories like that. Here, read this.
That one really was. I mean, it sounds it in the way he did it. It didn't sound too much like a horror story, so much as it is possible to do that, just to layer in those things. And it's a fast text analysis. And you're telling a story right off the bat when you're looking at in 1923, because you got that once upon a time.
Yeah, they might as well say once upon a time.
Yeah. It's just like once upon a time, long ago in 1923. So you're going to be going into a story. You're going to be narrating this thing. And that should take some of the edge off, because they've already given you your clue as to what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Right. There's not as much interpretation, but this one is some of the ones you've picked recently.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it does happen. I mean, it was large blanket statement, but it happens to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get something that is completely like off the wall, and it's like, okay, I've got to make this work. Like doing a character that's very fastidious, but at the same time, he has no control over anything that happens in his world. That sort of thing.
Yeah, like the nervous space mercenary from a couple of months back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yes, you told the story.
Mhm.
You know, did anybody else think he told the story?
Yes, he did. I had to unmute there.
You got the crickets there.
Yes, yeah, he did tell the story.
All right.
Excellent.
One more take, or what do you think?
Yeah, just do one more.
All right. In 1923, Barney Pressman opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. He opened that store with a grand total of 40 suits. He sold the suits during the good times, and he got by on the seat of his pants during the bad times. He worked long, and he worked hard. But if he did anything, he always gave the people in this town what they wanted, their money's worth. He named the store Barney's, and today his store is still giving people their money's worth. Only now, Barney's has a lot more to give. Today, that little hole in the block is not only the whole block, it's the single largest men's store in the world. Barney's has changed a lot since 1923, but the idea of giving their people their money's worth hasn't. And I still did the upspeak on the second 1923.
Not really, not too much.
Not as bad.
You buttoned it out a little more. You actually brought it down just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then rolled right into but the idea. Yeah, so you did. That was fine.
Well, that one felt better to me.
Yeah. And yeah. And moving along, because you did well.
Thank you.
As Michael would usually say, you are hired. So, yeah, I'm going to take this next one, and then I'm going to.
Oh goodness, you haven't read yet.
Yes, I haven't read yet.
Okay, by all means.
I've been standing back, resting my voice. I did a late night audition last night, so it's actually been helpful. On top of running my mouth during the whole time, saying, "Oh yeah, da 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 da," and throwing advice. But okay. In 1923, Barney Pressman opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. He opened that store with a grand total of 40 suits. He sold the suits during the good times, and he got by on the seat of his pants during the bad times. He worked long, and he worked hard. But if he did anything, he always gave the people in this town what they wanted, their money's worth. He named his store Barney's, and today his store is still giving people their money's worth. Only now, Barney's has a lot more to give. Today, that little hole in the block is not only the whole block, but it's the single. Today, that little hole in the block is not only the whole block, it's the single largest men's store in the world. Barney's has changed a lot since 1923, but the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't.
Overall, that was a pretty good read. Just didn't feel 100% consistent to me. I know that's probably nitpicking, but I don't know. How did it feel to you?
It felt consistent. At the same time, I was stumbling over the fact that I was getting a little raspy in there.
Yeah, it seems like when you first stumbled, it really threw you off for
Yeah.
a good couple of seconds after that. Sentences.
I'll take a pickup on it from the top.
At the beginning of your read, you were reading really quite quickly, and then you evened out as it got to the middle of the script.
Okay. In 1923, Barney Pressman opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. He opened that store with a grand total of 40 suits. He sold the suits during the good times, and he got by on the seat of his pants during the bad times. He worked long, and he worked hard. But if he did anything, he always gave the people in this town what they wanted, their money's worth. He named his store Barney's, and today his store is still giving people their money's worth. Only now, Barney's has a lot more to give. Today, that little hole in the block is not only the whole block, it's the single largest men's store in the world. Barney's has changed a lot since 1923, but the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't.
Yeah, and you really softened up your tone a lot on that, and I like that take a lot better than the first, just from the way your emotion in it was different. It seemed more fitting.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, it was good.
I turned around and took my own advice. It was that whole delete that 60-second thing and don't try to read, just feel it. So, one more take.
You know what you were saying to Xavier earlier, a couple of different versions on how he was reading it, a little more forceful. I mean, I like that tone, but do you want to try it maybe with a different tone?
Maybe a different tone. I'm going to add a touch of dialect to it. Kind of as if I were doing something regional, local. Especially considering the fact that there's a place in here where it says this town. You know, which, you know, being a national chain, it could be any town, USA, you know. So, in 1923, Barney Pressman opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. He opened that store with a grand total of 40 suits. He sold the suits during the good times, and he got by on the seat of his pants during the bad times. He worked long, and he worked hard. But if he did anything, he always gave the people in his town what they wanted, their money's worth. He named his store Barney's, and today his store is still giving people their money's worth. Only now, Barney's has a lot more to give. Today, that little hole in the block is not only the whole block, it's the single largest men's store in the world. Barney's has changed a lot since 1923, but the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't.
Yeah, I really like the way you emphasized certain phrases and words in there differently than you had in some of the other reads. And I like the character too. I think it would fit really well in a regional, you know, in a regional setting.
Yeah.
But it seems like he treated it a little differently this time, and differently than I've seen some of the others read it. And I like the.
Thank you. Anyone else? Opinions, comments?
It sounded good to me.
Sounded good to me. Sorry, I was just in the middle of reading a support ticket.
Understand. Chris, like myself, multitasks in here. Me and my 2 computers and a tablet. So, okay. Well then, with that read, I'm going to pass this along. See, I've got Takia and I've got Chris. Are you ready, Takia?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. Yeah, we kind of threw her off this earlier on. I almost said this morning, but for everybody on the West Coast, yes, it is morning. For everybody in the UK, it is evening. So take it away, Takia.
Okay. In 1923, Barney Pressman opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. He opened that store with a grand total of 40 suits. He sold the suits during the good times, and he got by on the seat of his pants during the bad times. He worked long, and he worked hard. But if he did anything, he always gave the people in this town what they wanted, their money's worth. He named his store Barney's, and today his store is still giving people their money's worth. Only now, Barney has a lot more to give. Today, that little hole in the back. Today, that little hole in the block is not only the whole block, it's the single largest men's store in the world. Barney's had changed a lot since 1923, but the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't.
Okay, I'm going to have you do something. Because you felt a little bit like you were kind of nervous running through this.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Some self-consciousness there.
A little bit of, Now, you're wearing headphones, right?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Or, you're doing it through your phone?
No, I'm doing this through my laptop.
Okay. What you need to do, okay, is be a character, okay? Because, and we've kind of, this has been the heart of the discussion during the whole process of what we're doing here, is you are telling the story, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, tell the story from the perspective of you are a part of the story, okay? So use that I am. Forget who Takia is and just focus on, I am this person. I have this backstory. Okay.
Okay.
You go a long way back with this family. You are very proud of where they've come from. You're very proud of how far they've come, and you're very proud of who they are now. And you want people to know about this. That's your story. Okay. And from that in you, in your heart, that's where you're coming from. Okay.
Okay.
Let's say you're Barney Pressman's granddaughter. Okay. You're that closely tied into the family.
Okay.
Okay. And bring yourself in from that perspective. Okay.
Okay.
Now, be Takia Pressman. Okay.
Okay.
Or even, completely change your name up. Okay. You are Susie Pressman, Barney Pressman's granddaughter. Actually, 1923, you're his great-granddaughter. But you love your family, you love what they do, and you are all about that family business. Okay? That's your heart. That's your soul. That's your mindset. Okay? Now, use that I am, and when you go in there, you say, I am Susie Pressman. Okay? Think like that. Use that thinking as you go into this and become that character. And go.
In 1923, Barney Pressman opened a little store on 17th Pickup. In 1923, Barney Pressman opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. He opened that store with a grand total of 40 suits. He sold the suit during the good times, and he got off by the seat of his pants during the bad times. He worked long and he worked hard. But if he had done anything, he always gave the people in this town what they wanted, their money's worth. He named his store Barney, and today his store is still giving people their money's worth. Only now, Barney has a lot more to give. Today, that little hole in the block is not only the world's block. Pickup is not only the whole block, it's the single largest men's store in the world. Barney's has changed a lot since 1923, but the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't.
Okay, how did that feel to you?
It felt better than the first read.
Okay.
I guess.
Now, you started off really well, and I think where you stumbled a little bit, it kind of caused you to hesitate a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, just use that tool. Okay?
Uh-huh.
Okay, you are narrating the story, and this is a story about your family and how proud you are of them. Okay?
Okay.
Now, see, in my personal self, I had a grandfather who owned a cabinet shop. My dad owned his own business.
Okay.
And so I'm really familiar with family businesses. I fell as far from the tree as you can possibly get. I am an actor. I'm a television guy. I will never do carpentry. I can't put nails together to save my life. But I understand that pride of having a family business. Okay. And you got to think from that perspective. I mean, and look, it's not a method acting thing. It's just a matter of use that tool, the I am.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do is just put yourself in that place. And if you have to change it up a little bit and maybe use a character vocalization because you've done this before. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't be cartoony with it, but just do a character. Okay. And also read with a smile.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And go.
In 1923, Barney Pressman opened a little store on 7th Avenue and 17th Street. He opened that store with a grand total of 40 suits. He sold the suits during the good times, and he got off on the seat of his pants during the bad times. He worked long and he worked hard. But if he had did anything, he always gave the people in this town what they wanted, their money's worth. He named his store Barney's, and today his store is still giving people their money's worth. Only now, Barney has a lot more to give. Today, that little hole in the block is not only the whole block, it's the single largest men's store in the world. Barney's had changed a lot since 1923, but the idea of giving people their money's worth hasn't.
There you go. How'd that feel?
It felt a lot better.
There you go. See, the big thing about it is you have a heart to be a character actor. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I have probably stated this through pretty much every mic check that I've been on, and that's pretty much all of them. But is when you're doing something like this, narration, promo, whatever it may be, you are being a character, you know. And this one specifically, you can create a backstory for yourself, you know. You create the story. This is what I am. This is where I came from. This is who I am. This is how our life has been, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You're tying that into all these words that you're saying to color those words. You know, and
Mm-hmm.
you read it with a smile, and you adjust your, you know, and you know, use that James Alberger piece of direction is forget who you are and focus, and use that I am and just take it from there.
Okay.
You know, and because it'll build your confidence, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Get away from overthinking and oh my God, this is a super long script, but they want me to bring it in under 60 seconds and all that. I mean, check it out. John took this piece of copy, read it in 50 seconds flat, you know,
Mm-hmm.
just by keeping the normal pace that John does, you know. And he shied away from overthinking it and just ran with it, because it's more about the delivery right now than it is about the time. You know, you get the delivery right, the time will follow. You know, I've done this with 30-second spots.
Okay.
You know, it's the matter of working that delivery. Okay, I've got to make this warm, friendly. I got to make this personal to the viewer and listener, and make them feel like I'm a part of this, not just, you know, some outsider looking in. And I can do that if I'm using my acting skills. You know, so just use your acting skills. And with that, we have come to the end of another awesome mic check. And so, everybody watching and or listening on YouTube, leave some comments below. Chime in. And hey, we're here every Saturday. So come on down and join us. We're always here. VAU Mic Check, Voice Artists United. We are here for our members. And hey, sign up on Voice Artists United. You know, we are a huge organization, but we are here for you. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye till next Saturday. And have a good one, guys.